It's live, you know.
Okay, so I just think it's always important that that is reminded of us. So, good evening. Thank you for zooming in to Tastefully Provocative. This evening, we are going to hear your thoughts about whether or not you consider us being a victim, and how we can resolve or address some of the damage that has been done, as well as moving forward. Moving forward will always be a part of our conversation simply because it is something that is constant regardless of the topic. So, first thing I would like to ask
Oh, shit.
is, do you consider us victims?
And by us, you mean black people.
Yes, by us, I mean black people, definitely.
Not at all. Well, let me just say, let me ask, is when we say victims, are we considered victims of what? Victims of society, victims of racial injustices?
I would say all of the above right now. I mean, we're having protests because we are a victim of police brutality. Within the protests, we are addressing institutionalized racism. So
Right.
we're a victim of institutionalized racism. Within the protests, we are addressing systemic racism. So we're a victim of systemic racism. Whereas some people will feel that, you know, this is life, this is what it is, and we are not victims. These are the cards we were dealt. So do you consider us, or do you consider Black people a victim?
Yeah, it might sound like a cop-out, but it's both and. You know, Black folks are victims of those things you mentioned, and Black folks are victorious in other ways, or in spite of the racism, systemic racism, white supremacy that Black folks face. We still, you know, we have overcome a lot of stuff and still survive, but we remain victims too.
I agree with that.
I agree with it as well. Ken or Thelma, do you have any say before we? I don't want to.
Yeah. Just in wording, sound final, and it might sound like you're accepting a certain status that you would not really want to accept. But outside of that, the reality is that we have been victimized by, slavery, Jim Crow, a list of related concerns, and we're still victimized to this day. But going on, an effort going on today to change that.
Okay, we missed something that you said. You went out for a minute.
Oh.
You're in and out.
Oh man. All right, let me go back inside. I tried to go outside. What about now?
This is
We can hear you clearly now.
Oh yeah, I was outside. I thought I was good. All right, I'll try to repeat briefly. I was saying that the word victim might sound too final, like it's over and there's no change in that particular status. It might sound like we're accepting a certain status or role or position. However, we do have to realize that the reality is such that we have been victimized by slavery, Jim Crow, institutional racism, and a list of other things. Someone mentioned police brutality. That's you know, very current and what's happening now. And we have a battle, we have a fight, we have a protest, and we have an effort now to come out of that victim status, that victimized state, and make some changes. So just because we were and are being victimized doesn't mean that we just accept that. You know, we understand where we are, what's happened to us, and we do what's necessary to make the appropriate changes.
Right, and I think that is the point of this discussion or dialogue, because it's a starting point. You know, so if I do not accept that I have been victimized, then my starting point may be different than someone who will accept, you know what, I have been, because of everything that you said, because of history, because of Jim Crow, because of slavery, because of racism, because of police brutality, because of systemic racism and white supremacy. So our starting point needs to be relatively similar by acknowledging that we have been victimized. And the following question is, how do we address moving forward the damage? But before we go there, who just joined us?
Yeah, Louis Gold.
Oh, hey, Louis.
Hey, how you doing,
Thank you
Ron?
for joining us.
You're
So
very welcome. Mhm.
our first question was, do you consider yourself or Black Lives victims?
Is that question for me?
Yes, we just addressed it.
Okay. Oh, yes. I consider myself a victim, yes.
Okay. Thelma? Okay. So what is our next step? How do we move forward with the damage that we've acquired? I mean, I think some people may not have, I think the protest personally has enlightened, I would say, a younger group of people in understanding the victimization. Simply because they came up, well, I've had students that would say, oh, I don't think racism exists. I mean, I've had students say that. People aren't like it was before because they had not experienced it. And then you have schools talking about being colorblind and diversity. And I mean, we're all for that. Not, well, I was never for the colorblind, but, you know, they've been fed that, you know, without understanding and
without background, you know, they're still children, and then the parents, you know, their support system could be a bit lack of knowledge or awareness from the, you know, the Middle Passage, the civil rights, and all the various movements that Nat Turner, you know, all those movements that led up to and continuation, in my opinion, of the Black Lives Matter movement. This is to me, because I'm old enough to, you know, I'm from way back there, but a lot of us have not and don't care to, in my opinion now, these are just my opinions here, and don't care to follow the historical and economic and oppression of people of color, primarily African Americans. And that's, I think that's something that just we're going to have to continue to work on through programs like what you have created here, Robin, grassroots programs. We're going to have to keep the dialogue going until, and the Black Lives Matter movement, keep that same energy in empowering self. Empowering self, meaning that you have to, because you guys are teachers, you know, you can't, there's only a limited amount you can do in a school period of time, you know. So a lot of us got to be followed through at home. And I don't want to get into a whole lot of rhetoric, but what I'd like to see us do is to continue these same energies as Black Lives Matter. Let's help them all we possibly can to strengthen this organization and other grassroots Black organizations like what you are doing right now. Okay. And to do what? To eradicate, first, to unite our voices collectively. Because in my experience, one or two of us is not going to work. The system, we help the system to divide and conquer when we do that, and we're not going to agree. We're all not going to agree all the time. We got to agree to disagree. But again, that Black Lives Matter, the movement, to me is just awesome. At my age, I'm so elated to see how it's manifesting and how it's moving with structure, in fact. So, in a nutshell, what I believe is that this energy should be to address, should the same focus and energy to focus on real institutional racism, in economic oppression, to help eradicate poverty, and work towards those social ills that's mostly affecting our people. But we can't do it with a false narrative. The narrative has to be real. And I think sometimes our community partners and various political leaders, you know, oftentimes I think maybe not meaning to do so, but gives us the false narrative of, yeah, we can work it out. Yeah, no problem. Well, we got a whole bunch of brothers and sisters down there, you know, homeless, you know, and have no place to go. Yeah, we got mental health issues here. Yeah. Well, we got, you know, illiteracy, and we're gonna have to try and address that. Yeah, we'll get there. I think that has to be eradicated. And I think the movement, again, that Black Lives Matter, with the continuation from during slavery, pre, during, and after slavery. The BLM is continuation. That's my take. And it has an impact. No question about it. To me, it has a major impact. It's making people think, you know, and it's bringing this police brutality thing that's been camouflaged for years and years and years. But thank God, social media now, a lot of this stuff is being revealed. And we all see it. Well, let me speak for myself. I see this daily on Facebook, social media now. Cops are beating down and shooting Black people as if it's okay to do so. And why are you questioning me? You see, in this kind of behavior. So, but we need the Black Lives Matter to put it in check, because if we didn't have the Black Lives Matter to follow up the social media concern and emotionalism and what we witnessed, you know, live, God forbid, you know, and you can see where the multiculturalism is all that's working, you know, Yeah.
Well, I definitely think COVID helped because of social media. I think that some of the people who would not have normally been on social media would have not ingested the you know.
I agree. I agree.
So I mean, that's one positive thing from COVID.
Yep. I agree. Yep, an unfortunate situation, but it had the disease is negative. We all know that, but well, you just said it all. The positive thing is that we're all like kind of pushed into a corner now where it, we gotta. Where are we going, and what are we going to do if you're stuck home, and et cetera. So this is good. I agree, and it's being taken advantage of by a lot of us. I like that. Even you with your program. In fact, I think you started this during COVID, did you? I'm not sure. Or just before. When did you start your organization, Robin?
It
Huh?
was during COVID.
Yeah. See, that's what I'm saying. It has all of us going, making me read every day now. I said, oh my God. I love reading, but I said, what? But what else is there to do? That makes sense a lot.
It can make you depressed. I mean, I have to step away.
Yeah. Well, thank God I have a big backyard here with them sitting out talking to you guys now. So when I get depressed, I come right out here, reflect with a few notes and a pencil and a pad in my hand, and just continue to jot some things down going forward, including your meeting today. I'm talking about jotting it all down, You're so very welcome. So anyway, yeah, we all need a relief. I got it. We need that.
So as far as the damage, KK, I want to hear from you as far as how do we address the damage? Do we address the damage, or do we just try to start whatever movement we want to start? Do you understand what I'm saying? Do we address the damage to all ages? I mean, we cannot go back. I shouldn't say we cannot go back, but it will be hard to go back and educate adults to educate their children versus starting bottom up. What do you think about that?
Go ahead.
KK?
Well, I gotta first say that I joined this group to listen more than offer a lot of opinions on what needs to be done, only because I honestly don't feel that Black folks have the wherewithal to accomplish the things that we need to make any kind of significant change. I think that we are so easily led by our oppressors that that's been our standard mode of operation for so many decades, and that I personally, and I haven't done a whole lot, but the little work that I've done has always seemed to reveal that we are too easily manipulated. So I got to say, I didn't want to put the damper on the spirit of the discussion, but I do feel like a couple things need to happen. One is, I'll just say, a miracle, but that's, we don't know how that works. So the second thing I think needs to happen is we need to look at the good energy, like the brother Lewis Cole was saying about from BLM, but we have to jump off from there, because BLM's mission is not about all the other things. BLM has a particular set of mission interests that it is interested in, and it says it on its website. They're clear about it. The only thing that BLM is really interested in doing relating to Black people has to do with police brutality only, so that they stop there.
Right.
The slogan is kind of misleading in saying Black Lives Matter, because there's all these other things about economics and stuff. Black Lives Matter is not, as an organization, is not interested in those things. So we kind of have to jump off from the energy that they may have put out there from their funding or what have you, and then create our own things for Black people for all the other things. So I don't know how that could happen other than a miracle, but that's what needs to happen, I think.
Well,
I'm sorry, Rob, but I see and feel collaborations with, to your point, brother K, to your point, I wholeheartedly agree that I think you briefly mentioned the economic, maybe those are my words, that economic oppression that's killing our local community, even right here, with millions of dollars going through the city, state, and county budgets, and that comes into this community. It's deplorable of the resources that directly goes to structured programs and organizations in the Black community that supports the uplifting of our people. I've done some limited research on it, but that's a grave concern of mine, the economics, because we know that whatever we are going to do, even when I talked about the poverty that we have, the social conditions, socioeconomic conditions, we're going to need resources to help heal those damages, because resources, you got to bring in qualified people to do so. And all that's going to be a part of a research, you see. Now, and Brother K, I just want to, I think you were headed there. Maybe I added some words to it, but I think you kind of alluded to that. Am I correct or no? The economic of our people, the economic frustration and oppression in the Black communities, probably worldwide. And a lot of these dollars are taxpayers' dollars, so it's not begging for something that's not ours. A lot of these federal dollars come in, or tax-paying dollars, and that's part of, I believe, that has to be addressed within the realm of the institutional racism, because to me that connects, and as part of institutional racism, when you take in the resources that are coming in at the top and continue to create big jobs. I'm not against politics. We all got to deal with that stuff. That's not going to stop. But we're going to have to call that to that being this economic oppression to their attention, because you can't run a structured, I don't believe you can run a structured program with people qualified to run it and to get good outcomes within that program's outcomes and etc. to be successful, so that you can continue to grow the program. You can't do it off of volunteerism. You know, you can't do that with volunteerism, and that's something that's badly needed, because I've gone to various meetings within this community where the leaders of those meetings, or the chairperson of those meetings, some white and some African Americans as well, a mix of the two, both race. When they come into our community, they say, well, here's what we need, here's what we're going to do. And, but usually here's what you hear, in my experience now, this is my own experience. But we don't have any resources right now. We got to see what we can do. Well, look, and these brothers and sisters are out there on that corner making a couple of hundred or maybe $200 or $300 a day. And you roll up to them and want to engage them in a positive transformation, historically, or about who we and who they are. And the first thing they're going to ask you, and they should, is, well, look, what are you going to do for me? Got a job for me, brother? Or how can I make some money? This is where the young folks' mind are at out there. And to me, you tell them, well, you know, we're just putting this stuff together. We don't have no money right now. He's going to look at you like a fool and laugh. And laugh at you. In fact, I just want to add that I was with the cavalry, talking about structured program. I've experienced working with Calvary Baptist Church in their mentoring program for 9 years. For 9 years. I went there in 2009 and left there in 2019. And it has a record, a historical record of the church itself, but a record of that mentoring program of being very structured, well, and successful. Well, I think here's the reason. To me, one of the main reasons: it's well funded, it's managed well, they have positive outcomes. They paid me very well. They have a support staff in place, and they have a budget for the kids every summer of 250 per student for 6 weeks of summer programs. And we visited the Schaumburg. I took my kids because it's up to the mentor as to where he or she want to take their mentees.
Right.
So I'm going to cut it off, but I'm just saying that these structured programs need resources, and I'll pull back now, Robert.
Oh, well.
I just needed to make that point, and I know I had a lot of words in there, but I used that as an example because if they didn't have those resources, that program couldn't have been or wouldn't be as successful because it's still going on. Because I'm fully retired, basically.
Absolutely. It's so.
Sorry for so many words, but it kind of.
Well, no. I think well, Kevin, if he wants to re-explain, he's basically saying that he just doesn't think that it will be difficult because Black people, which is very true, I hate to say it, easily manipulated and distracted sometimes before we get through an actual follow through. And he will basically take a miracle. And
that's true.
And we need to just be mindful when we are saying Black Lives Matter that we are not always associating ourselves with the actual organization because their focus is the LGBTQ transgender community as well as funding the police. So those are part of their missions. Whereas when we say Black Lives Matter, we are addressing white supremacy. We're addressing systemic racism, institutionalized racism, and changing culture. So what you're saying is absolutely correct. We will definitely need to somehow, whether it's grassroots, work with someone else to establish some type of funding in order for things to happen eventually. So Todd came in a little late, and I just kind of want to ask him this. What we've already discussed was victimization. Do you feel that Black people have been victimized?
Excuse me.
And we're also talking about the damage that it has caused, and how do we move beyond that, or any suggestions? And I just want to say one more thing, that Kevin felt that he was putting a damper, and I just want him to know, and everyone who ever watches this is about dialogue, because everyone who is on here represents other people, So I completely understand and agree with him when it comes to no follow through. We'll begin something, and then when it comes to the hard work, we do fall off. Many fall off. That's true. So I completely understand the perspective, but we are here to at least throw some things out to, whether it's parents that maybe need to educate themselves so they can start educating their children, because it will definitely need a whole cultural overhaul because of the institutionalized racism as well as systemic.
Right.
I'm sorry, Todd, back to you. So do you feel that we have been victimized? And
Oh,
can we move on from the damage?
how you doing, my friend?
Todd is
You're on
muted.
mute.
Got to
Oh,
unmute.
Todd, oh, I have to unmute? Okay.
No, Todd has to unmute himself.
Yes, Todd, unmute yourself. There you go.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh yeah. All right. Todd Jackson. Robin, how you doing? KK, everybody else, how you doing?
Hey, Todd,
How you doing, Todd? I'm
Please.
all right.
All right.
Okay.
I came in, of course, late. Kenny texted me and told me what was going on. So I was really interested in just listening.
Okay.
But I understand where KK is coming from. And as I'm listening, I'm just saying to myself in my head, like, when did we like, how do we fall so short so quickly? Where I'm thinking in my mind that during the civil rights movement, people were striving for things that we're trying to strive for now. It's like a carousel. We keep on going around and around in circles, but we're never going forward. I don't get it. I'm frustrated as a Black man. Um, you know, I don't normally join organizations because of, like you already said, that there are times when it's time to move forward, we fall short, or the goals are short. And I understand short goals, and so you're able to reach them. But what's next? Are we victims? From the day they took out kings and queens from Africa, we've been victims. Can we, change the stuff around? There's a lot of stuff that we should do. But like KK was saying, economically, we're suffering. We have a lot of issues. And before we
Social.
and I'm thinking before we start trying to uplift other people to go in a direction, we could probably start in your own community to try to uplift yourself, your neighbors, and
Exactly. In the community.
you got
I agree.
you got to start from the bottom. In my mind,
That's
you
true.
know what I mean. It's just that and Robin, again, I can be a Debbie Downer as well, but I don't want to do that. But a lot of it's very frustrating. I'm angry, and it's been at one point when I was young, I was very angry, and then I got to the point where it is what it is, and then as you grow older, you realize what's happening is the 1% is going to be the 1%. The rules that they imply that's supposed to be for all is not really for all; it's for themselves. Is that going to change? I don't think so. We talk about there are a lot of Black people in this world at this moment, and I'm gonna go into athletes that are making money. You know,
Mm-hmm.
why can't some of them get together and start putting some Black banks together? Black banks together. There's a lot of things that could be in my mind that could be done, but we all got to start with ourselves. And I remember while we were on the Urban Renaissance, Katie made me think about something very deeply when he stated, if the shoe was on the other foot and we as Black folks were the 1% rich, will we, show the game plan of how we got there to other cultures? And when I thought about that, I said no, because we want to continue to be on top. So, all I can say is that we got to do what I believe is best for ourselves. We got to try to make ourselves, I don't know, more valuable, I guess, in this world. I really don't know. It's just frustrating and aggravating because I really don't have the answers. And that's where I'm at.
I don't think any of us have the answers, but really, I think that's where we're trying to get to, respectfully. And I don't think any of us have the answers, and that's why I'm respecting this dialogue. Robin, you started,
Well, I appreciate what Todd just said, because it's I don't think we just became frustrated, and I'm glad you referenced you were frustrated before, because there's been many instances I've been frustrated, and then like even just my work environment, many times I've been the only Black person in my department, before education. And yeah, so I mean, I'm glad that you said that. And you're right. Like, no one's going to help us except ourselves, because yes, if we were the 1%, would we show? Unfortunately, I think we would show. But what I am afraid of is, it seems like when there's a movement for Black people, somewhere along the line, other minorities benefit more than the Black people. And to give you a concrete example, I think about acting industry. You know, they say, you know, they don't say they're opening the doors to Blacks, they'll say people of color. So then you'll get a Hispanic person who is dark enough to look Black, but not considered to be Black. And Hollywood would like to appease us by making us feel like, well, this is a Black actor, you know, male or female. And I think sometimes, like, once again, we get lost. I will say today, even when I look at shows, I see more gender equality characters than I do Black people. So I just hope that this movement will not like fall short for us again, you know, which is.
Are you speaking, Rob? I'm sorry. You speaking in regards to the Black Lives Matter?
Well, yeah.
No, I think she's talking. I'm sorry. I thought you were in Hollywood.
In general, I was giving you an example from Hollywood. They'll say, oh, well, we put more Blacks in movies, and they're not really Black and they're Hispanic. Now, we're not going to sit here and negotiate the origin of the diaspora, you know, but I'm just saying they'll appease us by saying, well, we have more people of color versus African American people. Well, and we fall to the wayside. Every movie, everything I watch today has someone gay, transgender, fluid. I mean, I don't know. And it's not that I have anything against it. It's just that it still does not address Black people.
Well, you talking about contemporary programs, Robin, or dated programs that you're watching in current times? Current, okay. No, just because I think that, as you very well know, I'm directly affected by your brief narrative regarding the performing arts world. And that has come a long ways. Of course, it still has some ways to go towards equality in storytelling, mainly films. But by the grace of God, I'm thankful that we have many, no, I shouldn't say many, several producers, directors now, you know, Spike, Tyler, and those guys are making a difference where they are no longer depending on, Hollywood to tell our stories. And I think that's a great thing, and to keep the narrative straight. So, again, I've seen a tremendous, over the years, an improvement in that area. Still have some way to go, no question about it. And I got your point about the gender thing, and our equality becomes part of others' equality groups and and other race, no groups and of the race. I got that. And I'm in agreement with you there, but I just needed to mention the fact that so many wonderful producers, male and female, of color, that's actually beginning to tell our stories. And I think that's going to grow with those social media and Netflix and all that. But when we see our race telling these stories, I think that is just so significant that we go and support it, be it film, be it Netflix, because they're still counting. The bottom line is the numbers here, the numbers game thing. And if you got a wide viewing audience, because they're about money. I mean, that's what they do in the film makers and producers, Hollywood people. So in conclusion, I just want to toot my horn in that, please, when we see our black filmmakers, Will Smith and Jada Pickett and all of them, when we see them telling their our stories, I think it's just so significant that we support it, because this is going to encourage more young people of color to become producers and directors telling our stories. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I agree there's growth, but I just know that.
I hear you. I got you, but I got that what you're saying. I got it. And you're right. Mm-hmm.
Does anyone else want to add to as far as addressing the damage or how we can address the damage?
Oh, well, yeah, this is Teddy. As far as the damage, we like in any, just taking it from my background in claim risk management, like in any damage situation, you have to assess what the damage is. It's easy to call out, oh, you got a burnt out house over here, damage over here. You have to actually analyze and just come up with what is the damage. Now, over 400 years we've been in this country, there's obviously a lot of damages. There's many books, psychological books, that have been written on what has been caused, what damages have been caused, and how it has been caused. Especially when you look at how there's been a breakdown in the black family because of the social economical problems that we face as victims. But we have to, in order for us to put this back together, like Louis, you said, we're going to need some resources, but we can't depend on outside resources.
No, you're right.
We've come a long way in this country, despite all that we've been through, despite all that we've been buried under. We've done some amazing things as humans.
No question about it.
Our human resilience has been a study in itself. So we need to just come together as a people and rely on each other. Identify what we need to build our families back up, to rely on what we need to do to build our communities back up. We are some of the biggest consumers in the world, not just in this country, in the world. We got money. Money is not an issue for us to say, yes, do we have poor neighborhoods? Yes, but they don't have to be. Those poor neighborhoods are there by design. We need to start, and the brother and KK said earlier, one of the things he said that was interesting, and it's true, is that we don't have the wherewithal in us sometimes to stick together long enough to see these things through. And that's what it's going to take. It's not going to happen overnight. We didn't get broken down overnight, so it's not going to happen. We're not going to be revived overnight. But whatever problems we have, if we come to the table and assess those problems and come up with viable ways to repair the problems, we can do it. And we can, and it's going to start on certain basis. We can't put everything on the table and say, wow, here's a mountain of stuff we got to fix. We got to look at certain basics of what it's going to take to get us back to where we should be and move on from there.
Well, I don't think we'll ever get back to where we should be unless, not even with reparations. We will not, time, you lose a lot with time. You can't get time back. I mean, at best, we can move forward and follow through, we can change, you know, we said this in every meeting, immediately change curriculums. I think like even the educational system, I'll just start in Patterson. Like from K to 12, they should have Black history as well as teaching students Spanish. And I say this because so many jobs that I see now are bilingual. And it doesn't matter if they speak proper English. It just matters that they can speak English. And when it's vice versa, when it comes to us learning Spanish or French or, you know, an Asian language, we have to really know the language. So even when you come here and you're learning English and you're getting bilingual education, you're still getting bilingual education and you're more qualified than the person who is already here that only has one language, that's only getting 2 years in high school and if they go to college, you know. So I think, you know, we need to start there from K to 12 as far as education, being bilingual, as well as implementing African American literature from K to 12 in there, along with African American history, along with history. I just think that is one way we can begin to work on our culture, being educated and not being so depressed when we look at something historical when it represents Black people. I mean, no one, if we weren't educated by our parents the way we are or were, then we would not understand and appreciate our ancestors. Whereas I think nowadays, because there is a detachment, no one wants to say, oh man, that represents me. Oppression. No one wants to say, oh, let me run home and watch Roots like we did. We thought it was knowledgeable. We thought it was powerful. But because of the lack of education, I think it has changed the cultural mindset in saying, I don't want to learn about my roots. I don't want to learn about the successes of, you say, the Ethiopian king and queens, you know, or Egypt, or just other parts of Africa. You know, I just think if we don't start from the root of education, then our culture will never, I don't want to say never, but it will be hard to change our mindset and our thought process. How could we have pride in something we don't know or something we don't embrace? You can't embrace something you don't know.
Right. But right. And after you do it in the classrooms, to your point, I wholeheartedly agree that education has to be a part of any positive or successful movement or an organization. No question about that. But in addition to that, I believe that because school, within the school system, Robin, and the mandate that you guys have to follow respectfully, in fact, in that school system, you're only going to get just a fraction of informing our culture of all the things we've talked about.
I agree.
But in addition to that, that's
well,
where I believe strong, the support of strong after-school community-based programs. That's where that relationship should be stronger. Board of Education, community, community, Board of Education.
Okay, John, I wanted to interject there.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
I just said, well, that has, to me, that has to change. See, if that's the case, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Go ahead.
Okay, no, I'm just saying that
Go
has
ahead,
to
brother.
change in regards to the curriculum, because if we only get in a small piece, then it needs to be broadened. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Not just to have it after school. You know, it's not
No, that's
just for
part of
white
it
people to know.
to
You know,
reinforce it after school programs.
no,
I'm talking about.
well, all right, to reinforce it, but
Reinforce it after school program with.
right. If I'm not mistaken, I heard you say there's a small portion part of the curriculum that's going to give out the history. All right, based on.
Within
I'm
the
sorry, go ahead.
schools, within the
Within the
curriculums or the syllabus, within the schools. But in addition to that, is where I said strong, in addition to, as a reinforcement, is where structured after school programs, I think, would be a good thing towards success,
Helpful.
reinforcement of that curriculum. Mm-hmm.
Okay, I get it. I understand that. But the
Just
curriculum,
reinforcement.
the curriculum should be broadened. That's just my
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Instead of for the month of February, you know what I'm saying? It's just maybe it should be throughout the history class. That's what I'm speaking of.
Well, no, beyond history.
Another thing that.
Go ahead, brother.
No, I get yes, absolutely. But since the topic was history, I just wanted to throw that in. And another thing that with Robin, when you were saying that from K to 12th grade, I think you said in regards to the education about being bilingual can help us. You know, I heard that and I said, yes, that became one of the prerequisites that you had to learn Spanish or take up a foreign language. But, I say to myself, how did we actually get there? Because there was an overwhelming influx of Hispanic people coming into America. All right. And now they start to have some power. So if we're not careful, I mean, part of the requisite may be Mandarin. You know what I'm saying? It may be, whatever. Because if I look into Patterson, and I say this, and again, like I said, I'm that person who seems to be frustrated most of the time. When I see a community that's in, like on Getty Ave, in the Muslim community, and how they decided to get together, and they took one block till they got to the point that they halfway in Clifton and keep going. Now,
that's right.
Look around. You go to Union Ave, and you have the Asian, meaning people from Bangladesh, and they got their communities together, to where they got their own drugstores and certain things in their community.
Absolutely.
All right.
Yeah.
I've been here. I'm a '60s baby, so I've been here and I've seen black grocery stores on several blocks, farm shops.
And now they're gone.
Cleaners, and they're gone. And I feel like we've been here for so long. So where, like I said, where's the missing?
Yeah.
Where did we fall off? Because from '60s to now, I mean, our community should be rich already. Should be
absolutely
full of, you know what I'm saying? And this is the frustration that I go through.
Yeah. You're right, bro.
And I ended up going to Patterson Catholic Regional High School, not wanting to go there. Okay, because my mindset, believe it or not, I couldn't stand anybody who didn't look like me. Okay, when I got there, I realized that the people that were there, the Hispanic people that was there, and white people that were there, they were ignorant of how African American people were, based on what their parents might have told them or their grandparents might have said about us. So, I got cool with a lot of people, and I started to accept people, regardless of what color they were, as a black boy. And whatever they give me, that's what I wrote down. So I had learned I had to evolve, to be, and then also be accepted in different places to try to get an understanding on their perspective on how they see us. And in return, try to throw something back at them and let them know, well, what you're saying is not exactly true. But I understand your point, but your point is narrow. You need to broaden your horizon as well.
Yeah.
But I say that just to say this, is that if we don't watch ourselves, even though there's a lot of us, we're gonna be extinct. And what I mean by
Yeah,
that is that
that's true.
we're gonna have no value. Like I said
You're
again,
right.
Union Ave is you know, in the last 10 years, if you see what's going on about Union Ave, it tells you a lot. And what's been
Mm-hmm.
happening over there at Getty Ave and throughout should tell you something.
Mm-hmm.
They're putting their monies together, you know. And then the
Yep.
Spanish people themselves, we used to laugh at them as kids, talking about 9 of them in the car, 1,200 of them in the house, and stuff
Yep.
like that.
Yep.
But their whole process was this:
Yep.
they got the house.
Yep.
There might have been 9 people in there, but everybody was paying the mortgage. And then
Yep.
you know they went to college, and then they had enough money to give somebody else a house. You know,
That is
and then
correct.
on the line. Okay.
Yep.
So
Mhm.
they're you know, if we're trying to figure out what to do, maybe we should look at them and say, what was their model?
Yeah,
You know,
and
because
to
they're
your point,
developing their own community. Go ahead.
yeah, it seemed like, bro, you're so on point. You, I ride through Patterson, those areas that's united with collective voices and resources, and they're on a boom.
Yeah.
And I'm
Yeah.
glad to hear you speak on it, bro, Todd, because I'm thinking to myself, I said, well, I shouldn't say anything because am I the only one looking at this? Other African Americans don't see this and say, wait a minute, if they can do it, what the heck has happened to us? So I'm glad to hear you make that point because you go over there on Getty Ave now, that's their own little faith-based Muslim center there and shops and whatever, like a whole community. A community of Muslims.
Shops,
Yeah, I'm saying like, dang, I'm
Yes.
looking at that. So I'm glad to hear somebody else is within my race looking at that. Now I don't feel so alone, brother. Thank you for that. Really, brother. I really mean that, brother, because that's why I didn't say
Kumbaya,
anything.
my brother. Kumbaya.
All right, yeah, all right, my dear brother.
But we have to agree that I think that was a part of our systemic racism. I mean, we are. I mean, if you think about even that shop, every ethnicity other than the African American, okay, know where they come from. We are ancestry.com. We are African ancestry. Okay, so when you know your culture, that is a part of the culture of building up, staying together, helping each other, building community. But our culture, because of design, we have been separated. We have this fish is going this way, this fish is going this way, this fish is trying to survive. You know, we are grappling. We have been lost and have been grappling and trying to survive. And some people got further than others. And because they're further, they're afraid to go back because when you go back and you try to help, you have people who are just there for themselves and not for the community to uplift a community. Whereas the Asian community, Todd is absolutely right. It's not just Bangladesh, Palestinian, and you know that Muslim community. It's the Asians. It's the Hispanic community. It's everybody, but they know where they came from. They came over with a purpose and a goal. We have been mixed up in a system and pacified at times. And KK is right, manipulated, falling for the okie doke, bamboozled. And some of us, and many, I would just say many, are satisfied until they get mad. Something has to happen for people to come alive or awaken themselves. So, you know, Todd is absolutely right, but you have to understand the reason why we're labeled African American is because they gave us that. They gave us Negro. They gave us colored. You know, they gave us a whole bunch of names.
Yeah, but we're beyond. Yeah, but a lot of that. I mean, you know, of course, keeping that in mind historically, but
because we can't say we know our culture. We had to learn about Kwanzaa.
Well,
it wasn't like we grew up celebrating Kwanzaa. I mean, I did learn when I was younger because of my parents, and we would go and celebrate it in family. But that is not like, come on, like we have African flag.
Yeah, that's part of the racism that we got to wrestle with. Yeah, unfortunately, Robin. But to your point, but a lot of us are more conscious now and aware of our plight and oppressed.
That division has been instilled in us, and that's
right.
That untrusting division
a lot of us
has been instilled in us.
Okay, so those of us who are beyond that, then the exceptions to every rule. How do we get that unity that Brother Todd just mentioned, and which I concur over that? How do we continue to get that? What do we do, those of us who are conscious and aware of those social conditions you just talked about, okay? And in organizations ourselves to make a difference. How does these organizations like New Family, Foundation, Now Theater, Integrity Lodge, and on, several organizations within the community, okay, that helps to get that Kwanzaa message and the origin of it, the historical significance of and meaning, and help define Kwanzaa. We got New Family within this community. So how do we then get more of us to focus and be in support of New Family every year when the Kwanzaa celebration is brought into the community for us?
Okay.
By them.
Okay, I want to hear from, it says Olivia Prescott, but you're Oscar Davis?
Huh? Say again?
I'm asking Oscar if he wants to, I was like, wait a minute, the names are not matching in my head. If you want to chime in on that, or Aisha wants to chime in, or Ken. Basically, the question was, how could we be, what do we need to, look, we talk
more
about
support towards New Family who.
We talk about the damage, okay? We talk about the conditions. And when we have organizations such as New Family in Patterson, what can we do for everyone to support, to grow and learn our history,
Yeah, and they.
Oscar?
I don't think.
Yeah. This is John Prescott.
Okay.
Brother, hey, Brother John.
Your lighting is, okay, all right. JP.
How you doing? How you guys doing?
Good.
All right, brother. All right, man.
I'm just getting on, so I don't know. Like,
so we started off asking if you felt that, Black people were victims. And as far as
victims of what? Just victims, period?
Yes.
Of the racist system, right?
Victims of America.
Of a racist society.
Okay, go ahead.
And we're talking about the damage, just how it just covers everything. And how we, what are some things that we can do to address it and move forward in positive in a positive manner. And Todd basically brought up other ethnicities that come here and develop and are successful, and we're still stagnated. He brought up basically Union Avenue, Main Street, you know, how I don't even know how many stores were down there before, but they moved in, you know, they put the different types of stores. It was almost like a Black Wall Street, but it's with the Bengali and the other
Asian
Muslim, belief, uh, you know, culture has built up that entire community. And why is it so difficult, I guess, for us to do it? And how could we do that?
It's I don't believe it's difficult. I, our problems go way deeper than that. It's funny. It's so funny that I clicked on a notification I got from KD that this Zoom call was on, because right before that, I read an article that I saw from Urban Intellectual that talked about the who was truly who truly was Uncle Tom, the person we know as Uncle Tom. We know and have heard to be Uncle Tom.
The history of him. Yeah. Successful
The
man.
real history and the character Uncle Tom. And I got into like so many debates with my father, even my father, about this a long time ago. Every time like him or I would hear somebody refer to us as refer to somebody else black as, oh, he ain't nothing but a Tom. And even like Muhammad Ali, and you hear Malcolm X use it in speeches and stuff like that. And then you read and you understand the true who Tom was. Uncle Tom, quote unquote, was based on the real life slave named Josiah Henson.
Correct.
Was who actually helped slaves get off the plantation in Maryland. He was brutally, I believe he was beaten to death, if I'm not mistaken, because he would not tell the slave master where the slaves went, or something he had done to help slaves. Something he had done to help slaves, and he would not tell master the truth about it, and he was actually beaten to death. And so perspective here. Let me give you perspective. Imagine the psychological damage done to us over 4 centuries, 4 centuries of abuse in this country done to us, to the point where in 2020, Uncle Tom, and even decades before that, right? We had black people using Uncle Tom as a racial slur, but we use the term nigger as a term of endearment. You understand what I'm? Do you understand the psychology, the psychological damage?
Absolutely.
The psychological damage that
Yeah.
you know, the reality of the psychological damage that is. Our problems. If we were in a therapist's office, if this was a therapy session, if black people were in a therapy session, we would need years, decades to get over this. Decades. Decades to undo that damage, done to us. Decades.
Yeah.
Right. No question about it. No
so
question about it.
So when you talk about damage, our damage goes back hundreds of years. Because again, today in 2020, and we still don't know that. We still don't know and understand that when you hear, like I said, my father, he's 73. I still debate with him. I showed him that, you know, he came around eventually, but you know, from when he was my age and younger, him, his friends, and people who we deemed who were seemingly smart people, talking about going way back, right? Way back probably before any of us on this call was born.
No, I'm a contemporary of your father, so.
Okay, all right then.
But it's my pleasure. Go ahead. I'm listening and learning.
Okay.
Because that's Harry Beecher's.
So people,
go ahead.
would say Uncle Tom again. Use Uncle Tom to degrade us. When in reality, Uncle Tom should be mentioned with Harriet Tubman.
Well,
or
I don't know.
I'm sorry, not Uncle Tom. Josiah Henson.
Josiah, yeah. And Harry Beecher.
Our damage is way deeper than economic empowerment.
But that's part of it, though. That economic empowerment, or being impoverished or economically impressed, in fact, is part of the narrative that you just talked about. That Harry Beecher stole Uncle Tom's cabin, you see, with Josiah, but whose real name is actually Josiah's character. But that
Josiah,
economic...
His name is Josiah Henson.
Yeah,
Uncle
Josiah
Tom,
Henson is...
Yeah.
Right, is the character Uncle Tom, though, right?
Right.
Yeah. But that all said, I know. Anyway, I concur. I concur with everything that you just said, young brother.
Absolutely.
I concur with it. I concur with it all. And I think we covered a little bit prior, but because it's all good. So go ahead. All good.
I think that goes back to a lack of education, you know. Because, you know, if, you know, as Joseph said, it feels funny, JP said that, you know, even people that we consider smart, if they tell us something, we're not cross-checking. We're not seeing, you know, if what they're saying is factual. We're just kind of going with the flow. And as a result, we are passing down wrong knowledge.
I want a straw, please.
Or we're just, and we're not knowledgeable.
Right
so limit ourselves by being dependent and not working towards our own self-empowerment by not educating ourselves just to make sure. I mean, it's no different from, you know, him going to a movie saying, Robin, don't go see that movie. It's whack. I don't like it. And I actually almost did that with Harriet. And I liked it. I mean, I understood that, you know, people were just upset because the actor wasn't from America. But I mean, when we're talking about a story and a historical piece, I just thought the actress did a good job for what was written. You know,
absolutely.
So
I agree.
We do that with iconic names like Uncle Tom, and
fiction,
and
get the real person mixed up with the fictional character. Yeah, we do that. And you remember early on, I said agreeing to disagree. That's a major problem that I believe and have experienced that we have as a people, agreeing to disagree. Robin, you touched on it when you talked about the movie. This didn't happen to you, but oftentimes if we don't agree with each other, then we get upset and angry and stop speaking and talking to each other. That's a very, very bad thing, but I've noticed a lot of us carry ourselves that way. And I'm not knocking anyone, I'm just saying, since we have an open dialogue here. But agreeing to disagree, to me, doesn't make you wrong, doesn't make me right. It just says that I have a different take on that, and here's the reason why I have a different take on it. on what you're saying. Agreeing to disagree. So significant. Agreeing to disagree. So significant.
We're gonna make this probably a part 2 as far as Christy, would you like to add something before we're gonna close in about 15 to 20 minutes? And I know some of you guys got on late, but that's okay. We're gonna make this a part 2 because naturally when we talk about damage and the course of 400 years, yes, we can introduce some of our ideas and address some things, but naturally there's never enough time. So we are going to continue this discussion next week because it does also spill into the Black family, because I think that kind of overlaps with what Todd was saying earlier as far as developing communities. So Chris, if you would like to add something, or Ken or KK before we wrap it up?
I spoke, so I'll let anybody else speak.
Yep, I spoke several times, so I'm good. And I'm in full agreement with Todd, developing our own community. I think Todd and I fully agree on that. Full agreement.
I think we all agree on that, definitely.
Well, I hope so. I'm just speaking for self.
Okay.
That's all.
I appreciate the support.
Yes, sir, my good brother.
I'm surprised Kenny didn't say nothing to me. Now, here we go, start trouble again.
He's very relaxed.
Yeah.
What I did honestly think about and became fearful about, because Louis, I was in that Black Wall Street play, is if we came together as the community Todd was referencing, in me, I fear that somebody would try to destroy us. That's my.
I hear you. I hear you, but I'm sorry, but I'll say, go ahead, brother. I'm sorry.
Robert, you said destroy us.
Please, just go ahead.
I think our back has already been broken.
You're right.
So
you're right. You're
what
right.
it is that there's a community that most of us live in that they don't want to really come in to live in themselves. They want to extract from what we have.
That's
you know
right.
what I'm saying? Because you can't tell me, like, I'm gonna give an example. I can boycott, like, to me, like the torpedo base.
Mm-hmm.
John's been in the torpedo base there forever, right? And I remember there.
Yes.
Any school trip we were going on, we had to get a sub.
Everybody wanted that sandwich.
Everybody wanted that sandwich.
Man. When I first came to, go ahead.
Yeah. So what happened was, I started looking at this and I said, if John appreciates our business, why can't he beautify the place and do something else with it to make it look more presentable?
Mm-hmm.
Now, John decided, I guess, take all his money and do whatever he wanted to do. I don't even know if he lived in Patterson, but I doubt it.
He didn't.
Right.
He lived in Saddlebrook.
Yeah.
He lived in Saddlebrook.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So, nice.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
He was born and raised in Patterson. He went to Eastside High School, but after a while, he was living over there in Saddlebrook.
Okay, so we afford him a nice home with a nice area in Saddlebrook. That's what we did.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Mm-hmm.
so, and John did not beautify or do anything to the place until he had a fire,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Which in many stores do the same thing in this town. Giovanni's Pizzeria. I like their pizza, all right, but I go in there and ask them, when you gonna fix that bathroom, make it look nicer? When are you gonna do? One time I said, what are you gonna do over there in that area where you got people sitting down on plastic outdoor furniture? You know what I'm saying? So they continue to extract from us. That's the only reason why they're coming here. Because you said again, Leo, we're one of the biggest consumers. But if we got together and there was a strip somewhere where we open our own businesses or what have you, you know, we'll be able to reap the benefits and continue to support ourselves and be prideful in our community, just like the Muslim community, like I said, on Getty Ave and Main Street, and going into Crooks Ave, going into Clifton, just like the Bangladesh community right now that are taking over Union Ave. You know what I'm saying? So it could be done. I don't think they'll be here to destroy us. They'll probably say, okay, all right, well, maybe they'll leave us alone now because, you know, they got what they want without their community. We're not going in there messing with them. The government ain't gonna say nothing because we gotta pay taxes. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, being, you know, to our growth can be beneficial to both parties. So I don't think they'll be out there to try to destroy us. I think we end up destroying ourselves.
Okay.
Good point.
Not being supportive.
Good point. Good point. Good point. That that apprehension. Consider canning that apprehension, Robin, the same way you did when you decided to run for a councilwoman of the 3rd Ward. You know, you knew you was going to be. Huh? What did you say, Rob?
I said I'll be running again.
Good, but take that same.
Well, I don't want to just deflect from this conversation, but
well, no, that's. I'm sorry. I brought it up. What I was saying was from the community, and I'm in the 3rd Ward, so you know, I brought it up to make a point that that same initiative that you took when you ran for the councilwoman seat for 3rd Ward, you realized there were going to be challenges and naysayers. But what did you do? You ran.
I could not.
You ran.
Except what
you ran.
It was. I ran.
You ran. That's the point. So that same initiative and energy, I'd like for you to consider in moving forward with what we are attempting to do here.
You're right.
That's the point I'm making.
You're right.
Okay. The point I'm making.
Before we leave, I just want to, just in case Aisha wanted to add something, if you can look at your chat and copy it. KK has run across a book called The Color of Money, Black Banks, and Racial Wealth Gap. Now, a couple of us have decided we are going to purchase it, and it's free if you're a Prime member. And because that is also, once again, one of our avenues and segues into building community success. Everything that you're talking about, we just can't do it
and not support each other.
Right. We can't.
I got you.
And we have to learn how to grow economically, you know, and we have to put our differences aside to support Black-owned businesses. And we truly have to understand that sometimes our businesses, I mean, if you think about it now, some things are pricey because they've been closed so long. That's how some Black-owned businesses are, because they're not getting the support that other businesses are getting. So they tend to sometimes cost a little bit more to survive. And I think with consistency, you know, and support that, you know, that they could overcome some of these things.
Okay, great. Got you.
I don't mind paying a little more if what I'm purchasing is quality.
Correct.
Right.
Now that you're correct.
That's a two-way street, Robin.
Right. You're right.
That's a two-way that goes both ways.
You're right.
You can't offer. You can't. You know, because you own. You know, you're a Black business owner. You can't offer me, you know, a B product for A prices.
Right.
That's just not going to work.
No, I'm 100% with you on that.
Plus you got to be consistent. I can't go there the first time and say, "Ooh, wow, this is a lot on my plate. I love this. This is good," and then go back for the same dinner and actually get a lunch for my dinner. You know, lunch size for my dinner.
That's got to be consistent. Got to be consistent. I agree.
Well, I mean, I guess it's harder in a sense that there's
Be
less
consistent.
options. And that's a problem, because like if it were any other establishment, we wouldn't go back, right?
Right.
And but then what's our option? We have a whole bunch of options, but when it comes to Black-owned businesses, depending on the person, our options could be there, but they're just not as easy because there are less of them, you know. So yeah,
and that's part of the problem.
right.
Yes.
I probably also, I mean, I'm quite sure. I mean, back in the day when Will Jones had a store, his milk was more expensive to the white guy Jack's. But he told me the reason why that is that when he purchased wholesale, being a Black man cost him more.
Yeah. Yeah, because he couldn't volume. You're right. He couldn't volume.
Right.
You're absolutely right. Wow.
And I've seen, and this is just through experience, and and this is my last thing I'll be saying, that in my experience, I've seen a truck pull up in a parking lot, and I seen 4 smaller trucks surround it, and they divvied it out. So that was the volume you would talk about.
That's
there was
right.
4 different
Volume
grocery
box.
stores.
Yeah.
That and they went, and that's what they did. So
Yep.
they came together again. This is a Hispanic. That was a Hispanic people that I saw. So again, they were able to find a way to get together, to put their money together. And say, okay, listen, if all 4 of us go in this together, it's a lot cheaper. Where I can go to the bodega and get a bottle of water for 50 cents, and I go to some other store, it costs me $1.25.
That's right.
I
That's
ain't gonna lie
exactly
to you,
right.
I'm going to the bodega.
Yeah.
You know,
Will Jones, wow. Will Jones, they all gone, right? Bro, Todd, they all gone. Those stores,
gone.
Jags and Will
right.
Jones. Yeah,
Right.
we thought you'd mentioned that before, you know.
Yeah, see, my heart goes out. My heart goes out to them because I feel as though that they were on the right track, and I kind of blame my generation. This is just my perspective on how we dropped the ball, because we was very family oriented. You ate dinner at 5:30, you know, and you didn't make it in the house by 5:30. You didn't eat. We got to the point where our kids ate when we were ready to cook for them. They were able to have fast food. I mean, there was no TV in my room until I was able to purchase one. You know, so it was a TV in everybody's room. Sometimes convenience is not always the best thing, because you know, you know, at this point right now, you hear people talk about, because of the coronavirus, more people are sitting down having dinner together. So you're speaking to each other now. So a lot of traditional things that we thought was too strict and need to be updated, I think somehow we lost our way a little bit.
That was a value system.
Right, exactly. And that's what the other cultures have, is that value system. My sister told me something about her friend who, I think he's Arabic or something like that. He's studying, he's like 27 years old. He lives in Ohio, and he has a 2-family house, but his mother and father have keys. And one day he was studying, then 4 carloads came up and they bombarded his house and, listen, we're eating at your house tonight. And they all had dinner together. You know, this, you know, I don't know, you know, the values are different.
Right.
You know,
yes, sir.
And I think we've lost a lot of ours.
You're absolutely right. I 100% concur with that.
I think going back to the psychological damage, I think we have to relearn how to love one another, how to love each other. First, how to love ourselves collectively. I think I seriously, that's part of our healing process needs to be relearning how to love ourselves and each other.
True. Very, very good point. Excellent point.
If we did, you know, torpedo base was brought up. You know, John's been there. I'm 48. I've been eating. I know I've been eating my first torpedo based sandwich I had when I was 10. So that's, you know, 38 years right there. And I know he's been here even longer than, you know, even before I had my first sandwich.
Yes,
I'm
sir.
over
When
50, so
And
he's
so
been
if
there.
we're
He's
if
been there long enough.
and I'm 70. So
right, and so
and when I migrated to Patterson in 1965 from the South, he was running strong then.
right,
Because all my nieces, would go there, the torpedo base, and now his daughter's running the business.
right.
I think
Fran,
somebody.
who also lives in Saddlebrook.
Mm-hmm.
In all that time, he has not given one dime back
That's
to
true.
to the Fourth Ward community
That's
or to
true.
Patterson as a whole.
That's right.
And if again, learning how to love ourselves, he couldn't get away with that in the Jewish community. He could
You're
not
right.
get away with that. He
You're
couldn't get
right.
away with that in Italian community.
Right.
That's
He
right.
could not get away with that. He couldn't get away with that in Fairlawn,
Right.
and he couldn't get away with that in Glen Rock, Ridgewood. He could not get away with
Mhm.
that. They would have shut
You're
him
so.
down.
You're right.
Down. Now,
You're right.
so again, if there's a difference between being forced to stick together because of circumstances and truly loving each other. Truly loving each other. You talk about the values. One of the values is learning how to love yourself
That's true.
and
Respect.
love each other.
Mhm.
Love and respect
Mhm.
yourself and
Yes,
love and
sir.
respect each other. And again, over
Mhm.
4 centuries, don't take that number lightly.
Right.
That's right.
We have been
That's
taught.
right.
We have been taught to hate ourselves. We have
That's
been
right.
constantly taught to hate ourselves and hate each other for so long,
You're right.
that today we are forced. We are in a situation where we're forced to stick together because of circumstances in this country. And there's a difference. And even in that case, and even still, some of us still find that hard to do. And
You're absolutely right.
that's that psychological damage I was talking about. That's
That's
a
exactly
real
right.
thing.
So
It's
I'm
a
going
real
to
thing, y'all.
wrap it up there. And John,
You're so right, bro. Thanks for those words,
I
brother.
hope that you join next week, because we said this would have to definitely be, a part 2, if not a part 3. And I think that has to do with, once again, that falls back to self-empowerment. A part of our damage is loving ourselves in order for us to move forward. So we will definitely touch on that and open with that, as far as our self-empowerment and dealing with the damage as being, or I should say loving ourselves as being one of the components of dealing with the damage to build community and everything else that, Todd and Lewis was talking about today.
Mm-hmm.
But if you have not already done so, please look in our chat, because we'll push it back an additional week. So 2 weeks from now, we would like to, if you have read the book, discuss the economic challenge and possible growth and how it affects our community, and we can empower ourselves. By let's read the book so we're all kind of knowledgeable of the same topic. 2 weeks from now. So next week, we will continue this discussion about damage and components that we need to deal with. And then 2 weeks from now, we can talk about Black economic growth. Okay? So thank you guys for chiming in this
Hand
evening.
claps to the moderator. Hand claps to Robin.
Yeah, good job, Robin.
I look
Yeah,
forward
good job.
to you guys next week. Have a good
Okay.
Y'all put your mask on.
All right.
Yes.
You got it. You got it. Okay, bro.
Please.
I mean,
All right.
everybody.
Y'all be well.
You too.
Bye-bye, everybody. Be well.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you.